Hello, beautiful people. Listen, welcome to the land of Zamunda. Not really, but you're in the land of Give It to the People. So I have another amazing guest that is going to be on today. And let me just tell you what we do and who I am. So I'm Chisa Penix Brown, and my company is Give It to the People, which is the same name as the podcast. That moniker for us is definitely for us to be focused on mental wealth, which means getting your mind right and your money right. And so what we focus on is BIPOC businesses and women-owned businesses. And today I have somebody that is dynamic, that you're going to love, who's going to tell you some stuff that you don't know, I'm sure, and then also let you know about her new business that is, ready to just spring and jump onto the scene. So let me bring in DeAndre Hardy. DeAndre, darling, how are you today, baby?
Hello, I'm feeling good. How are you?
I am wonderful, and I'm excited about your business because I told somebody about it. And they said, wow, that is really a great idea. So for me, that was a good thing that people, wanted to just try to find out a little bit more about the Scene Society. But I want you to introduce yourself and tell them about the Scene Society and what's making you start this initiative.
Yes, thank you so much. So I am DeAndre Hardy. I am the CEO of the Scene Society. It just launched. And what we do is amplify the lived experiences of women living with chronic invisible illnesses to create capacity for authentic and inclusive leadership. And so people ask me, well, what does that all mean and how did it start? So I am a 20-year chronic illness thriver is what I call myself. I've been living with the chronic illness, well, actually 2 chronic illnesses for 20 years. And through that journey, I realized being an ambitious woman, navigating all the intersections of family, my career ambitions, school, there have been a lot of new conversations about inclusion, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Accessibility has come a long way. But what has been missing from those conversations is the intersection of how invisible illnesses affect women in their career trajectory and how they see themselves as leaders. And so I created the Scene Society to have that conversation, to coach women through all of the different things we tell ourselves about our invisible illnesses, the different challenges we experience when even thinking about, should I even take that promotion? Or is this opportunity really for me, knowing what's going on behind the scenes and how people perceive us without knowing what is really going on? Because the first thing I tell people is, oh, but you don't look sick. Oh, but you don't look sick. So no one is expecting you to show up the way you have to show up sometimes to manage your body. And so I realized that if there's one of me going through this, there are a lot of other people who are not seen. And so that's why I wanted to create this space to make that visible, to make the women who I contact and talk to feel like they are seen and heard, and also provide services to organizations and companies to talk more about how to support employees with invisible illnesses.
And that's an important thing because a lot of times, the whole concept, when you say the Scene Society, if a person can see something is wrong with you, it feels like they are a little bit more empathetic.
Yes.
But a person so for instance, if you say, okay, well, my stomach is hurting, that's different from a regular stomach hurting to a person who doesn't have a colon, right? Or like when you start to think about the different issues of the hidden illnesses that you're talking about, sometimes we don't know how to pronounce the illness. Sometimes we don't know what the illness is. Sometimes you may know somebody that had it, but you don't understand the severity of it. And it's not until you actually are in close proximity to a person that has whatever this, hidden illness is, that you really understand the severity of it. And so tell them about the things that you have, just so that this way they can get an understanding of what it is, and then just some of the things that you experience. And you're still trying to climb the corporate ladder. You're still being somebody's wife. You're still being a sorority member. You're still, doing all these things. And you have this to go through on a daily basis.
Yes. So I love that question. So I was diagnosed with Crohn's colitis when I was 12 years old. And what Crohn's disease is a part of an inflammatory bowel disease where a section of your digestive system is inflamed due to an autoimmune illness. So due to your immune system thinking that something is wrong when something is not wrong. So all autoimmune illnesses kind of center from your immune system perceiving that there's something going on, that you have an infection, and attacking itself in a different way. So to get rid of the infection that you really don't have. So I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease when I was 12. And so I had to fight through middle school, high school, college, with an illness that a lot of people didn't know about, and that a lot of Black people and brown people were not on the pamphlets. None of my doctors were Black and brown, because people were still trying to learn what this was. So that is the first piece I had to manage. A part of Crohn's disease is that it can affect your whole digestive system. So people can have Crohn's in their mouth, on their esophagus, all through the lower digestive system. And that's something a lot of people don't know. They think it's just a stomach disease. And so part of mine was,
I didn't know that either.
See, you said you were going to find out something you didn't know.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So people can have Crohn's on their gums. Any part of your digestive system can be affected. And so mine was in my colon, my lower digestive system. I ended up having to get an ostomy placed, which is when they just completely removed my colon because it was just sitting and inflamed. And now I have an ostomy bag placed where waste eliminates through the bag. And then I also developed hidradenitis suppurativa. You talk about people can't pronounce it. When you have it, sometimes you're like, doctor, it's just on the paper. And then the doctor can't pronounce it. So you read it on the paper. And that is a part of it. Came up because of the inflammation in my colon, but it is when your skin glands become inflamed. So different parts of your body, your skin glands can become inflamed. And so to give a piece of your example, when you said saying my stomach hurts, when you looked at me, and if I was at work or somewhere and I said, oh, my stomach hurts, people would be like, oh, she probably just needs to drink a ginger ale and go lay down. But they don't realize, they don't realize that, I may not be able to come to work for the next 2 weeks. I may have to work from home because of what's going on with my stomach. And so that's why it's important. And also just the shame around, for a long time, you felt like, and a lot of the career advice would say, well, don't tell anybody at work you're sick, or don't tell anybody, this or that. But when it's something that completely alters your life, I feel like we have to focus on finding safe, inclusive places so that we can be supported to be our true selves. And when I found out, when I was able to do that, other women on my team started telling me the things they were going through. And I was able to be a lot better manager and a lot better colleague, partner. And it didn't take away from anything that they did. Like, people with invisible illnesses are powerhouses. They are strong performers, because usually they're telling themselves, I have to do good because I know something's going to happen and I'm going to be out, and I don't want that to be my brand. And so it's something that people just do not know about. They don't know about, or you don't see it, so it's not in front of you. And so that's why I share my story openly, because I want people to have a place where they understand, where they can learn, and also understand how they can support or show up in a better way.
Yeah. And I think that, what people, and I hope you didn't miss this, guys, if you're listening. She said she was diagnosed at 12 years old. So if you think about that, and I just want to put it in perspective, 12 years old is probably the time where you're going through puberty, of course. You're probably getting that first menstruation somewhere in between 10 to 13 to 14 years old. Your body is changing just normally, right? And then you have to go through this, and then, just all of that. So now we're talking about adolescence all the way up to adulthood, and then just being able to let people know what is going on. That's a lot to deal with from just a mental health perspective, let alone the physical toll that it can take on your body. And people understanding and having those conversations, like you said, with your team, of, I really can't do this right now. Like, there's not a possibility that this can happen. And so I would say, for people who don't have a hidden illness in this manner, to really understand, like, think about your worst sick day. Like, on any given day, you could probably take some medicine real quick and be healed. But this is something that's going to continue. And you brought up a really great point when you were talking about what I like to call, like, the overachiever kind of thing, right? Because let me get as much done while I can do it is a real life thing that you have to go through. Now, what I know about DeAndre because she's fabulous. And we have the same hairstylist, which is how we met anyway. And Jennifer had been telling me, "Oh my God, y'all got to meet each other. Y'all would do so well together, and this would be great." And I mean, she was right. She was definitely right without hesitation, right? But DeAndre is a type A personality, honey. And so those type A people, I'm guilty too. We always want to just have this level of achievement, and it's not even competing with anybody else. It's just that we want to continue to be better. How do you use your type A personality to excel in what you do, but then also to really try to help other women to understand that they can do the same thing? Because a lot of times they may not have a hidden illness, but sometimes they might.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I use my type A personality to, one, I love what you said about not competing with others, but competing with yourself. So in my experience, I've shown up the way I show up, which you're aware, and people think I'm competing with them or I'm trying to, and it's really me versus me. So I'm trying to be better than I was yesterday. I have a brand that is important to me, and it's important for me to have this level of excellence in everything that I do for my brand and to serve others. Mm-hmm. What I think other women could lean on is knowing what that level of excellence is for you, but not letting it come from a place of deficit. So what I had to transition is, with a hidden illness, is instead of saying I have to overwork to compensate for when I'm out, I say I'm going to work in healthy ways to my level of excellence because that's who I am, knowing I don't have to compensate for when I get sick. My level of excellence is what I need, and it speaks for itself. So I think when we're switching from deficit to asset is what it really is. Because when you're overachieving, or when you're type A from a deficit perspective, you're going to burn out. It's not good from your mental health, because you're never going to achieve that level of success to make up the deficit in your mind. But when you are telling yourself from an asset perspective of it's me versus me, I'm trying to do better, this is to my level of excellence, to where my goals are, and these are the healthy boundaries I have around that, then that changes the game and helps you be able to balance it a lot better.
That was amazing. I mean, like, honestly, I don't know if people look at it like that. And I think the way that you're explaining it is really, I think of things that way, but I don't know if I thought of things that way. Does that make sense to you? Like, the way that you put it was like, listen, I cannot worry about what she's doing, he's doing, they're doing, because I'm only worried about, well, I want to be better than me. So let me beat my last thing. And I don't think I ever really thought of it from looking at it from a deficit standpoint, because I've never really even, that wasn't in my mindset to do that. Like, it was always like, okay, well, if I thought of a deficit, it was really like, what didn't I have before that I can make happen now, right? But I think maybe a lot of people do that, right? And I think in people competing, and not just understanding that you have to do your work, but then also keep your body and your mind in a healthy, capacity. Those are things that sometimes you can't control, and then you take control by being excellent at what you do, right? And so, we've had some conversations, which we will not be talking about on this thing, but let's just say, because we've had some conversations, right? But, when you look at it, and I'm going to use the word affiliations, sometimes the things and the people that you're affiliated with don't necessarily have the same standard that you do, but you don't want them out there representing you in a manner that is unbefitting, right? And so we've talked about that before. Like, listen, no, we're serious about this because this is a brand. And so I'm going to transition to this because I'm going to just use the sorority angle, right? So that's we had a conversation about that. And I remember when I was in school, I was gung-ho, Sigma Gamma Rho, that was it. And that was the brand, right? And so she's Zeta Phi Beta, and that was the brand. And I think what you start to see when we talk about just the nuances of things in different stages of your life, there's a different brand that's there, right? Yes. And so, you wanting the college version of you to represent Zeta, but also to represent DeAndre, and then to represent a woman who was transitioning into other things. Sometimes maybe people don't understand that there is a level of expectation that comes with being affiliated with certain things. And so, what would you say that you've learned throughout the years with the affiliations that you've chosen to be a part of, but then even maybe some of the things that other people chose you to be a part of?
Mm-hmm. So what I've learned from affiliations is, one, I love that you said that there are seasons for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that doesn't mean, and I don't think it means that I'm no longer associated with either friends, organization, etc. But I think it means what's the priority or what's on the forefront may shift as I evolve or as my purpose evolves. So affiliations for me have to always be aligned in purpose. So if this season of my life, this is my purpose, then my primary affiliations and brand are associated. Like I have to align my personal brand with my primary affiliations. And then if I feel like people have an expectation of me, of a brand, or be based off of what they've seen me do or my affiliations or something else, and I feel that isn't aligned with my purpose, then that's a conversation. And I think whenever people have different levels of expectations or just how they execute things in general with their affiliations, we sometimes shy away from the conversation to say, hey, love you or love this, but I don't think this is purpose right now for me. And I find I've struggled with those conversations where I feel like in the last 6 months, I felt more prepared and more focused to have those conversations, but I definitely used to shy away from them. But I think it's worth a conversation, because you don't want people to feel like you just dropped them once you moved on, or, oh, that's where that, oh, she got big, she changed. So I think it's a conversation. Yeah, but I mean, I evolved. I think, oh, she changed has a negative connotation. So I evolved. This is my purpose. And love you, but if it's not purpose, then here it is in the priority. But this is how we stay connected, because who knows when that other thing, that other affiliation, whatever, evolves and you come back into alignment. So I don't believe in just shutting things down, but I believe talking through what's purpose and priority.
Yeah. And I mean, when we look at that, I would say that for if you want to use the term like boss women, right? When you use the term of, confident, all of that, sometimes those words do have a negative connotation because for some reason somebody else is threatened by that person's confidence. And that's always an interesting thing to me. Like, did you want me to be like a wallflower? No, you brought me into this situation because of my strength. And a lot of times when you're in this situation and you do have a hidden illness, you being in that position might mean I can't do certain things right now. I don't need to be affiliated with this because I also have to prioritize my peace, my health. I do want money, but at the same time, the money's not going to help me if I'm laying in the hospital, right? So looking at this, what are some of the things that you do specifically to prioritize that peace, to have that energy for yourself? And then even if you don't have it, to rejuvenate, to bounce back?
So I have a 3-part strategy that I've learned to apply. I applied this with my career, which is what I teach people, but I also apply this in other areas. Is one, own your story, because if you're not honest with who you are and what you need, then you can't make good boundaries. 2, build your team, because we all need a team. We all have teams. And 3, honor your boundaries. And so for me, those are pieces like my boundaries around work, my boundaries around personal life. And an example is I have to have 2 free weekends, or at least 1 free weekend. If I'm pushing it, I have to have 1 free weekend a month, because I have fatigue along with Crohn's disease. Autoimmunes can cause you to be tired, and I have to guard my energy differently. And so I have to tell people that, like, hey, my month is booked up. I can't book anything then, because that is my rest day. So I don't say, oh, I'm busy. I don't say, like, you don't owe anyone an explanation. But for me, it helps me remember my boundary when I say that's my rest day, because that makes me saying it to people as my reason validates it for me. Like I don't have to hide or say, oh, I'm double booked or can't make it. Like I don't have to veil that I need to rest. I can just tell you I need to rest. And if you're for me, you honor that.
You understand
right?
it. Yeah.
And if you can't, then you can't. And that's where we are right now. And so that's one of the things I have to do is honor my boundaries. So make sure I have at least 1 to 2 weekends for rest. I have to make sure traveling back to back, I can't travel back to back because my body, my immune system has to recuperate. I have to get good sleep. So that means I have to cut off phone conversations or, manage communication that way. And then I have to move my body. So that's stepping away from, I work virtually. So that's stepping away from the computer, putting it on my calendar to go take a walk and go outside. Now, some people with invisible illnesses, the sun, it bothers them. But for me, going outside, being in the sun, getting that fresh air and moving my body helps me stay healthy. So I put it like, I don't hide what I need. I'm very verbal about it because it validates that. And then I hope when other people hear that, they feel like they have the freedom to do those things as well. And also it lets people know, oh yeah, that is important. Maybe I should go take a walk too, even though I don't have an invisible illness. Like maybe I should get up and move too. And so those are like the concrete things I've done to help guard my boundaries in my body and the expectations of what people put on me.
No, I like that. And I like the fact that you are intentional about doing it. I like the way that you say it too, because I will tell you that I'm busy, and my busy is I'm busy not being bothered with whatever you want. So it's kind of in the same vein, but but I mean, like, honestly, because when you say you don't owe people explanation, I think sometimes people that are closer to you feel like they are entitled to get an explanation. And, one thing, and I listened when you said, maybe you don't have an invisible illness, but you need to walk too. Everybody, actually, we probably all do have some type of illness, like the way our food is processed, what we drink, what we eat, what we intake in our bodies, all of these natural things that happen around us. And I think that just being able to be conscious of that and put some more movement into our day, could be more helpful for everybody. And so the thing is, invisible illnesses sometimes creep up when we didn't even know. And a lot of people don't get things until they're older. So it is our habits that do oftentimes lead us to have things that we didn't have. And so I don't want anybody to think that they are above having an illness and that they've surpassed it because at a certain time, because it's just like something like shingles. So if you didn't get chicken pox when you were little, shingles are chicken pox. I don't know why they don't still just call them chicken pox. Maybe they should call them like hen pox or something. I don't know, but that's what shingles is, right? But a lot of times people don't get shingles until they're in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. But it can't get it, right? And so it's kind of one of those things where I think we take a lot for granted. And I'm going to be honest, I do as well. But I think that you putting it out there and having us be conscious of it really is one of those things that puts it to the forefront. So what do you want women to get from the Scene Society? Because you have that focus on women with hidden diseases and illnesses. What do you want them to get?
Yeah, so women with invisible illnesses and just women in general. So the Scene Society centers the experiences of women with invisible illnesses, but I think any woman can learn that, one, it is okay for you to own your story, to be bold, to show up as you, and that we're leaders. We're strong and we're capable. And a lot of times it's the tape we play to ourselves that hold us back. Other than that, I want them to know that there are environments out there that help you succeed. A lot of times women put it all on them. If they're not being successful, or if they're not promoted, or if they don't feel like something is working out for them with whether it's their business or career, they feel like it's them. And that comes from a lot of times women of color do that. When really there are environments that are set up that you can be more successful in when you know when you look at yourself from an asset perspective, then you can align where you are with your environment. And 3, it is okay to honor your boundaries. So I really want women to know that they can show up as their authentic selves and be leaders. And there are places that will value them. You just have to get very clear on what those things are. And that's where a lot of it is lost in the strategy and in getting clear on what your assets are, and also how you find a place that aligns with that.
Yeah.
And so I'm having a brunch April 29th of social networking brunch for women with invisible illnesses, caretakers, and any advocates of people with invisible illnesses. So most of the people who are going to hear this can attend the brunch. And what it is a soft space. I think a lot of times when we hear networking, we get scared. We hear, oh, there's going to be this person this high up and I have to put on this space. This is a soft space where we can come and be vulnerable. I can't always promise a safe space because I don't own or manage everybody who's going to be in the space, but I can promise you a brave space where you can come, be soft, and talk about things that are important to you. We'll have prompts. I'll talk about owning your story, and then we'll have fun. And there are other women there who show up who don't want to have the VP hat on all day, but can still get to know you and say, oh, hey, sis, okay, that's what you need. I'm happy to be available for you, or this is a resource I can connect you to. And I think that takes away that angst of, I have to put on this mask to be this position or this person in this room when I'm networking.
Yeah. And I think that, the biggest difference from what I can see, with what you're doing too, is we're talking about real things. So this is not a place where you need to come with a facade, but you don't know. One of the women in the room might be your next, connection to something else. They may be your next client. They might end up being your next boss, or they may have another, something else that's at their company that's open. So when you talk about that and you talk about specifically focusing on professional women, the odds that there is somebody in the room that can connect you to something that you need to be connected to is super high. And so she's keeping an intimate environment, and I'm happy to say that it'll be over here and Give It to the People. So it's going to have a nice little feel to it. And one thing that DeAndre wanted was mocktails. I love to make a mocktail. So we're going to have you make your own little mocktails when you get here. I've been working on recipes for the ladies. So we've been trying some stuff out. So all kinds of goodness. And I think that, the biggest thing for people to understand is that it's okay to talk about things, and that when you're providing this, what you said was a brave space. Like, that right there was a whole, different feel to it and a whole different vibe, because maybe nobody knew, like you can have coworkers that didn't know what was going on, and people in your life that don't know until you tell them. And, with me, I wouldn't have known anything about that until you told me. I couldn't tell. I didn't see it. She had on this old nasty dress the first time we met. So, it was giving curves. It was giving body, right? But I would not have been able to tell anything unless you said something to me. And just knowing that, I think that what it does is it provides people the opportunity to be empathetic, understanding, but then also to be like, oh, okay, well, I know somebody, who has XYZ disease, or, and now I can be a lot more just educated about what to happen, and think about those things just to be consistent. So tell people where they can find you online, DeAndre.
Yes, you can find me online on the Scene Society. So that's the THESEEN Society on Instagram, on Facebook, and we're doing a soft launch on LinkedIn at the end of this week. And so you will be able to see us at the Scene Society on LinkedIn as well. So, and TikTok. I do TikTok videos just about my life with invisible illnesses, tips for women, tips for leaders. And so you can follow us at the Scene Society on TikTok as well.
Yes. And guess what, guys? She can come in and do training. She can come in and coach you. So if you individually feel like you need that coaching, she can help you with that. But she is looking for people who want to bring her into other companies. And so if your company does have a DEI initiative, or they're just a logical, sensible company who says, oh, our employees might actually need to be trained on some stuff that they don't know about, then you can definitely bring her in to do that as well. So, go ahead and just spread the word about the Scene Society and about DeAndre Hardy. And now that people know about it, show up at the brunch. And so you can go on the website, you can go on Eventbrite, you can type in the Scene Society. It's links all over the place for you to be able to do that. And we'll post it with this video as well. So if you're watching on the replay, you can still leave comments if you like, and you can still share the video after it's over. And so what one motivational word would you like to leave with people before we leave out of here?
Authenticity.
Okay, guys, get your authenticity up. All right.
Yes.
And you can buy that. You can't buy it. It needs to come from you.
It's there and you feel it and it's yours. So own it, feel it, and do it.
Yes. All right. So thank you so much for being on the show today. For everybody else, make sure that you always show up and show out and you continue to give it to the people. Bye, guys.
Bye.